The Vexery war fleet had been hiding in the asteroid belt for 3 full days. Commander Zithus stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the sensor screens with all 6 of his eyes. His hard shell clicked softly as he moved, and his mandibles opened and closed with excitement. He had done this many times before. 47 successful ambushes against weaker species. This would be number 48. "The human vessel is coming," his tactical officer said. A single cargo ship. Only 2 small escort frigates protecting it. They call the cargo ship the Steadfast. Zethus made a sound of pleasure. The Vexery Dominion had spent many years studying the younger races of the galaxy. They knew how every species acted when they faced a stronger enemy. The pattern was always the same. When a weaker species saw that they could not win, they gave up. They begged for mercy. They became slaves and resources for the Dominion. This was the natural order of things. The humans were new to space travel. They had only been flying between stars for about 200 years. That was nothing compared to the Vexery, who had ruled their part of the galaxy for over 1,000 years. Humans had no great military history. They had no powerful weapons. They had no reason to act any different from the dozens of other species the Vexery had conquered. "Turn on the interdiction field," Zethus commanded. "All 12 of our ships will surround them. Tower up the main weapons, but do not fire yet. Let them see how many ships we have. Let them understand that they cannot escape. Then we will tell them to surrender." The trap worked perfectly. The Steadfast dropped out of faster-than-light travel right in the middle of the Vexery formation. 12 warships surrounded the small human cargo vessel and its 2 tiny escort frigates. The humans had nowhere to run. On the bridge of the Steadfast, Captain Daniel Hayes looked at the viewscreen. He saw 12 alien warships pointing their weapons at his ship. His cargo hauler was big, but it was not built for fighting. It carried farming equipment and seeds for a new colony. The 2 frigates protecting him, the Resolute and the Defiant, were brave little ships. But they were no match for even one Vexery cruiser. "Captain," said Lieutenant Maria Santos, his communications officer. She was a calm woman with dark hair and steady hands. "The aliens are sending us a message." Hayes was 61 years old. He had gray hair and deep lines on his face from years of hard work. He had been flying cargo ships for 30 years. He had seen pirates before. He had dealt with raiders and thieves. But he had never seen anything like this. These were Vexery warships. He had heard stories about the Vexery Dominion. Stories about how they conquered entire species and turned them into slaves. "Let me hear it," Hayes said. The face of Commander Zithus appeared on the screen. He was tall and covered in a hard brown shell like an insect. His 6 eyes looked at Hayes with what seemed like amusement. His mandibles clicked as he spoke. "Human vessel. You are surrounded by the Vexery Dominion's 3rd expansion fleet. Your weapons are weak. Your shields cannot protect you. Give up your ship and your crew. If you surrender now, we will treat you according to the customs of civilized conquest. If you try to fight, we will destroy you." Hayes looked at the alien commander for a long moment. He thought about his crew, 63 men and women who trusted him. He thought about his wife back on Earth and his 2 grandchildren who he had not seen in 8 months. He thought about the colony waiting for the supplies he was carrying, farmers who needed seeds and tools to survive. Then he turned to his tactical officer. "Lieutenant Cooper, what do we have?" Kevin Cooper was young, barely 30 years old. He had red hair and freckles, and he looked scared. But his voice was steady as he answered. 2 escort frigates, sir. Standard weapons. We have about 40 people who know how to fight across all 3 ships. The Vexery have us beaten by about 50-1. Hayes nodded slowly. He turned back to the view screen where Zithus was waiting. "Commander," Hayes said. His voice did not shake. I need you to understand something about human beings. We do not surrender. Zithus made a strange sound. It might have been laughter. Then you will die. All of you. Is your pride worth more than the lives of your crew? Hayes thought about that question. He thought about all the species that had surrendered to the Vexery over the centuries. Where were they now? Slaves, resources, their cultures destroyed, their children born into chains. Was death really worse than that? Maybe we will die, Hayes said. But here is what is going to happen first. I'm going to send a distress signal. Every human ship within range will hear it. And then my people are going to fight you. We are going to make you pay for every shot you fire at us. We might not win, but we will hurt you. And when this is over, one way or another, more humans will come. They will find out what happened here, and they will respond. He leaned forward in his chair. You made a mistake, Commander. You thought we were just a cargo ship. You thought we would be easy prey. But humans are not prey. We have never been prey. And we never will be. Zitha stared at the human captain. In all his years of conquest, no one had ever spoken to him like this. Lesser species begged. They cried. They offered treasures and information in exchange for their lives. They did not make threats. You are bluffing, Zitha said. You cannot hurt us. Your ships are nothing compared to ours. Hayes smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had made peace with death and decided to face it standing up. There is only one way to find out, he said. But I promise you this. Whatever happens today, you will remember the name of this ship. You will remember the Steadfast. And you will remember that humans do not surrender. He cut the connection. On the bridge of the Vexery flagship, Zethus felt something strange. It took him a moment to recognize the feeling. It was doubt. For the first time in 47 successful ambush, he was not certain what would happen next. Commander, his tactical officer said, the humans are sending a distress signal. Should we jam it? Zethus thought for a moment. Then he made his decision. No, let them call for help. It will not arrive in time. And when we destroy these ships, we will destroy whoever comes to save them too. He did not know it yet, but that decision would cost him everything. On the Steadfast, Captain Hayes turned to his crew. They were looking at him with fear in their eyes. But there was something else there too. Trust. They trusted him to lead them through this. All hands, Hayes said over the ship's communication system. This is the captain. We are surrounded by enemy warships. They have demanded our surrender. I have refused. He paused to let that sink in. I will not lie to you. Our chances are not good. But we are going to fight anyway. We are going to fight because that is what humans do. We are going to fight because surrender means slavery. We are going to fight because somewhere out there, our people are coming to help us. And we need to hold on until they get here. He took a deep breath. Battle stations. All hands to battle stations. Today, we show the galaxy what humans are made of. The crew of the Steadfast moved to their positions. They were scared. They knew they might die. But not one of them thought about giving up thought the battle was about to begin. The distress signal from the Steadfast traveled at the speed of light. It crossed empty space in less than 5 seconds and reached the nearest human military base. The message was short. It was automatic. And it contained 2 words that had not been used since humans first created their space. Defense Force. Broken Arrow. Those 2 words meant only one thing. A human ship was under attack and facing total destruction. It meant come now. It meant do not wait. It meant that people were dying. Admiral Patricia Wong was in her private room on the carrier, indomitable when her communication device started screaming. She was 53 years old, with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been a soldier her entire adult life. She had trained for moments like this. She was dressed and running toward the command center before the alarm stopped. "Tell me what is happening," she said as she walked onto the bridge. Officers were rushing to their stations. Screens were lighting up with information. The air was thick with tension. "Broken arrow signal from the Kepler 442 area," her operations officer reported. He was a young man named Lieutenant Chris Palmer, and his face was pale. "The cargo vessel Steadfast sent it. Vexery ships have surrounded them. 12 enemy warships confirmed." Wong felt her stomach tighten. The Vexery. She knew about them. Everyone in the military knew about them. They were conquerors. They had built an empire by attacking weaker species and turning them into slaves. Earth's government had sent them many warnings. Through official talks and private messages, humans had made one thing very clear. Do not attack human ships. The Vexery had decided to ignore that warning. "How fast can we get there?" Wong asked. "At maximum speed, 17 minutes. But Admiral, if we push our engines that hard, we will arrive tired and not ready to fight." "Normal rules say we should." "I know what the rules say," Wong interrupted. "Send a message to all ships in our group. Every single one. Emergency speed. We leave in 60 seconds. Her flag captain, Commander Samuel Drake, moved closer to her. He was a big man with a thick beard and worried eyes. "Admiral, what if this is a trick? What if the Vexery want us to rush out there? What if they have more ships waiting?" Wong looked at him. "Then we will deal with that when we find it. Sam, there are human beings out there. They sent a broken arrow. That means they are not just trying to stay alive. They are trying to give us time to reach them. They are fighting and dying right now so that we can save whoever is left." Drake nodded once. He understood. "Yes, Admiral." Wong turned to face her bridge crew. These were her people. Men and women she had trained with, worked with, trusted with her life. They were looking at her, waiting for orders. "Listen to me," she said. Her voice was calm but strong. 17 minutes ago, I was sleeping in my room. Now, I am about to lead you into battle against an enemy we have never fought before. I do not know exactly what we will find when we get there. But I know this. Our people need us. And we will not let them down." She pointed at the main screen, which showed a star map with the location of the Steadfast marked in red. "That is where we are going. Full speed. No stopping. When we arrive, we fight. Any questions?" There were no questions. "Then let us move." The Indomitable was a big ship. It carried 3,000 crew members, hundreds of fighter craft, and enough weapons to destroy a small moon. It was not fast. It was not pretty. But it was built for one purpose: war. The engines roared to life. The ship shook as it accelerated to emergency speed. Around it, 6 other human warships did the same. 2 heavy cruisers, 3 destroyers, and another carrier called the Vigilant. Together, they formed the 3rd Defense Group, one of the most powerful military forces humanity had ever put together. 17 minutes. That was how long the people on the Steadfast had to survive. In the command center of the Indomitable, Wong watched the clock count down. 16 minutes. 15. 14. She thought about what was happening out there. A cargo ship and 2 small frigates against 12 Vexery warships. The numbers were terrible. The Steadfast had almost no chance, but they were fighting anyway. Wong knew they were fighting because the distress signal was still active. If the ship had been destroyed, the signal would have stopped. As long as it kept going, that meant someone was still alive. Someone was still resisting. "Admiral," Lieutenant Palmer said, "we are receiving updates from the battle area. The Vexery have started their attack. The Steadfast has taken heavy damage." One of the escort frigates, the Resolute, has been destroyed. Wong closed her eyes for a moment. The Resolute, a small ship with a crew of about 40. Good people. Brave people. Gone now. What about the Steadfast? Still fighting. They have lost several decks. Many casualties. But they are still fighting. And the other frigate? The Defiant? Palmer looked at his screen. His eyes went wide. Admiral, you need to see this. He put the image on the main screen. Wong stared at it, not quite believing what she was seeing. The Defiant was a small ship. It was designed to protect larger vessels, not to attack enemy warships. But the captain of the Defiant was doing something crazy. She was flying her ship directly at the Vexery cruisers, getting in close where their big weapons could not track her, hitting them with everything she had, and it was working. 2 Vexery cruisers are showing major damage, Palmer reported. His voice was shaking with excitement. One appears to have been rammed by the Resolute before it was destroyed. The other took multiple hits from the Defiant at close range. Wong shook her head in amazement. Those small ships had no business surviving against Vexery warships. They should have been destroyed in the first minute of the battle. But they were not just surviving. They were hurting the enemy. Who is the captain of the Defiant? Wong asked. Commander Lisa Park, Admiral. She has been in the service for 12 years. Wong made a mental note of that name. If they survived this day, Commander Park deserved the medal. If they did not survive, she deserved to be remembered. The clock continued counting down. 10 minutes, 9, 8. The Steadfast is losing power, Palmer reported. They are venting atmosphere from multiple decks. Casualty reports are heavy, but their weapons are still firing. 7 minutes. 6. The Defiant has lost her main engines. She is drifting, but her weapons are still active. She is still shooting. 5 minutes. 4. Admiral, we are almost there. Wong stood up straight. She looked at her crew. They were ready. They were scared, but they were ready. All ships, she said into the fleet communication channel. This is Admiral Wong. In 3 minutes, we will enter the battle zone. When we arrive, we show no mercy. The Vexery attacked our people. They killed our brothers and sisters. Now we make them pay. She paused. Weapons free on my command. Focus all fire on the enemy flagship. I want their commander dead. I want their fleet destroyed. I want them to know that this is what happens when you attack human beings. The Indomitable dropped out of faster than light travel. The rest of the fleet appeared around it. And Admiral Patricia Wong saw the battlefield for the first time. The Steadfast was broken and burning, but somehow still there. The Defiant was drifting without power, smoke pouring from a dozen holes in her hull. The Resolute was gone. Nothing left but floating pieces of metal. But 2 Vexery cruisers were dark and dead. 2 out of 12. A cargo ship and 2 frigates had killed 2 enemy warships. Wong smiled grimly. All ships, she said. Open fire. The battle was about to change. Commander Zithus could not believe what he was seeing. His 6 eyes stared at the sensor screens, but his brain refused to accept the information. This was impossible. This could not be happening. When the battle started, everything had gone according to plan. His 12 warships had surrounded the human vessels. He had given them a chance to surrender. They had refused. So he had ordered the attack, expecting a quick and easy victory. The first few minutes seemed to prove him right. The small frigate called the Resolute took heavy damage almost immediately. Its shields failed. Its hull cracked open. Zithus watched with satisfaction as the tiny ship began to break apart. But then something unexpected happened. Instead of trying to escape, the Resolute turned and flew directly at one of his cruisers. The human captain must have known he was going to die. His ship was already falling apart around him. But he did not run. He did not surrender. He pointed his broken ship at the enemy and pushed his engines to full power. The collision was devastating. The Resolute slammed into the Vexery cruiser at incredible speed. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire and metal. The human crew died instantly, but they took 300 Vexery soldiers with them. Zithus had never seen anything like it. In all his years of conquest, no species had ever done something so crazy, so suicidal, so completely against all logic and reason. And it was just the beginning. The other frigate, the Defiant, did not run either. Its captain, a human female, flew her ship directly into the middle of the Vexery formation. She got so close to the enemy warships that their big weapons could not aim at her properly. She ducked and weaved between the larger vessels, firing her small guns at their weak points. The Defiant was tiny compared to the Vexery cruisers. It should have been swatted like an insect. But the human captain was skilled. She knew exactly where to hit to cause the most damage. She targeted engines and weapon systems. She aimed for sensor arrays and communication dishes. And when she found an opening, she fired everything she had into the reactor section of another Vexery cruiser. The ship's core went critical. The explosion destroyed the cruiser and damaged 2 more ships nearby. 2 cruisers dead. 2 out of 12. Killed by a cargo ship and 2 tiny frigates. Zethus felt something he had not felt in many years. Fear. "Commander," his tactical officer said, voice trembling, "more human ships are coming. 7 warships. They will be here in less than 1 minute." Zethus wanted to run. Every instinct told him to run. But he was a commander of the Vexery Dominion. He had conquered dozens of species. He could not flee from humans. He would never be able to face his own people again. "Hold formation," he ordered. "Concentrate fire on the human cargo ship. Destroy it before the reinforcements arrive." His ships obeyed. They poured fire into the Steadfast, tearing through its weakened shields and punching holes in its hull. The cargo ship shook and burned. Decks collapsed. Crew members died, but the Steadfast refused to die completely. Its weapons kept firing. Its engines kept pushing it forward. Its captain kept giving orders, and then the human battle group arrived. The Indomitable was the first ship through. It was massive compared to the Vexery vessels. Not as advanced, not as sleek, but built like a fortress. Behind it came 2 heavy cruisers, 3 destroyers, and another carrier. Admiral Patricia Wong did not hesitate. She did not ask for surrender. She did not try to negotiate. She simply gave one order: kill them all. The human fleet opened fire with everything they had. Missiles streaked across space. Energy beams cut through the darkness. Fighter craft launched from the carriers in waves, swarming around the Vexery ships like angry insects. Zethus watched his fleet begin to die. One cruiser after another took critical damage. His shields, which had seemed so strong against the cargo ship, were not enough to stop the focused fire of 7 human warships. His weapons, which had torn through the Steadfast so easily, barely scratched the armor of the Indomitable. "Commander, the humans are targeting our flagship," his tactical officer reported. "Our shields are failing. We cannot hold much longer." Zithus finally understood his mistake. He had studied humans from a distance. He had read reports about their technology and their military strength. He had concluded that they were a young species, weak and inexperienced. Easy prey. But those reports had missed something important. They had missed the fire that burned inside human beings. The stubborn refusal to accept defeat. The willingness to die rather than surrender. The Vexery had built their empire on fear. They showed overwhelming force, and their enemies gave up. It had worked for 1,000 years. But humans did not respond to fear the way other species did. They did not become weak when they were scared. They became angry. They became dangerous. On the Steadfast, Captain Daniel Hayes was still alive. His bridge was destroyed. Smoke filled the air. Sparks flew from broken consoles. Of his original crew of 63, only 19 were still able to function. But he was still giving orders. "Maria," he said to his communications officer. Blood ran down her face from a wound on her forehead, but she was still at her station. "Can you get me a connection to the Vexery flagship?" She looked at him like he was crazy. "Sir, we are barely holding together. Why would you want to talk to them? Just do it, please." She worked her console with shaking hands. After a moment, she nodded. "You are connected, Captain." The face of Commander Zithus appeared on what remained of the view screen. His compound eyes were wide. His mandibles were clicking rapidly. He looked terrified. "You could have left us alone," Hayes said. His voice was weak, but his words were clear. "We were just a cargo ship. We were carrying farming equipment to people who needed it. Seeds for crops. Tools for building. We were trying to help a new colony survive." Zethus said nothing. He just stared at the human captain. "You attacked farmers," Hayes continued. "You thought we would be easy. You thought we would beg for mercy. But we do not beg. We fight. Every single one of us fights until we cannot fight anymore." He coughed. Blood came up. He wiped it away and kept talking. "Look at your fleet, Commander. Look at what we did to you. A cargo ship and 2 frigates. We were nothing compared to your warships. But we hurt you. We killed your people. And now our military is here, and they are going to finish what we started." Zithus finally spoke. "You are dying. Your ship is destroyed. What does it matter what you say now?" Hayes smiled. It was a painful smile, but it was real. "It matters because you need to understand something. Today you learned a lesson about humans. We do not give up. We do not surrender. And when you hurt one of us, you make all of us your enemy. Remember that, Commander. Remember it for the few minutes you have left." He cut the connection. On the Vexery flagship, Zethos watched as another one of his ships exploded. Then another. The humans were destroying his fleet with systematic precision. They were not showing off. They were not being cruel. They were simply killing everything in front of them. He had underestimated them. He had thought they were prey. And now he was going to die because of that mistake. His flagship shook as a human missile found its target. Alarms screamed. Officers shouted. The lights flickered and went dark. Commander Zithus, veteran of 47 successful ambushes, died in his command chair when his ship exploded around him. He never got a chance to surrender. The humans would not have accepted it anyway. The news of the Battle of Kepler 442 spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Within days, every major species had heard the story. Within weeks, it had become something more than just news. It had become a legend. The details varied depending on who told the story. Some versions made the humans sound like unstoppable warriors. Others focused on the destruction of the Vexery fleet. But certain facts remained the same in every telling. A human cargo ship carrying farm equipment had been ambushed by 12 Vexery warships. The humans had refused to surrender. They had fought against impossible odds until help arrived. And when the battle was over, not a single Vexery ship remained. On the planet Vexer Prime, the capital of the Vexery Dominion, the ruling council met in emergency session. The Grand Chamber was silent as High Lord Krithax read the report for the third time. His 4 eyes moved slowly across the words, as if reading them again might somehow change what they said. "How is this possible?" he finally asked. His voice echoed in the large room. Our third expansion fleet was one of our most powerful forces. 12 warships, thousands of warriors, and they were destroyed by 7 human vessels? None of his advisors had an answer. Their military models had predicted an easy victory. Their analysis had said that humans were a young species without significant military experience. Everything they knew about warfare told them that the Vexery should have won, but they had not won. They had been completely destroyed. Perhaps, one advisor said carefully, we should try a different approach. We could open diplomatic talks with the humans, establish formal relations, find a peaceful way forward. Another advisor made a sound of disgust. We do not negotiate with prey. We are the Vexery Dominion. We have conquered 100 species. We do not bow to anyone. Lord Krithax raised one of his claws for silence. He looked at the report again, studying the casualty numbers, the timeline of the battle, the details of how each Vexery ship had been destroyed. The human cargo ship was called the Steadfast, he said slowly. When our commander demanded surrender, its captain refused. He said that humans do not surrender. He said that they would make us pay for attacking them. He said that more humans would come. Krithax set down the report. He was not lying. They did not surrender. They did make us pay. And more humans did come. He looked around at his advisors. I have studied many species over my long life. I have seen the strong and the weak. I have watched empires rise and fall. And I have learned to recognize when a species is truly dangerous. He pointed at the report. Humans are dangerous. Not because they have better weapons than us. Not because they have more ships. They are dangerous because they do not behave the way other species behave. When we show force, other species surrender. When we threaten destruction, other species back down. But humans do not. He stood up from his throne. They fight even when they cannot win. They die rather than give up. And when one of them falls, others come to take their place. This is not the behavior of prey. This is the behavior of a species that will never stop fighting until they are completely destroyed. The chamber was silent. We have 2 choices, Krithax continued. We can continue to treat humans as prey and try to conquer them. This will mean war. Not a small war like the battle at Kepler 442, a real war. A war that will cost us millions of lives and may not end in victory. He paused. Or we can recognize that humans are not prey. We can accept that they are equals. We can make peace with them and find other ways to expand our dominion. The advisors looked at each other. For 1,000 years, the Vexery had never made peace with anyone. They had conquered or they had been conquered. There was no middle ground, but there had never been a species like humans before. 3 months later, the Vexery Dominion signed a formal treaty with Earth. They recognized human territory. They agreed to stop all military actions against human ships. They withdrew their fleets from 3 star systems that had been in dispute. It was the first time in Vexery history that they had ever treated another species as equals on Earth. The Battle of Kepler 442 became something sacred. Monuments were built in every major city. The names of those who died were carved in stone and remembered every year on the anniversary of the battle. Schools taught children about what had happened and why it mattered. Captain Daniel Hayes returned to his job after 6 months of recovery. He had a new leg made of metal and plastic, but it worked well enough. He went back to flying cargo ships, hauling supplies to colonies that needed them. He never thought of himself as a hero. He was just a captain who had refused to surrender. Just a man who had told his crew to fight because fighting was the only real choice. But others saw him differently. When his ship landed at space stations, people would gather to watch. They would point at the Steadfast and tell their children, "That is the ship that started the Battle of Kepler 442. That is the ship that taught the galaxy not to mess with humans. The crew of the Resolute were given the highest military honors. Captain Torres, who had rammed his dying ship into the Vexery cruiser, was remembered as one of the greatest heroes in human history. His wife received his medal and kept it on her mantle for the rest of her life. Commander Lisa Park of the Defiant survived her wounds. She spent 3 months in the hospital, then returned to active duty. The military offered her a promotion and a desk job, but she refused. She wanted to keep flying, keep fighting, keep doing what she did best. They gave her a new ship, a bigger and faster one. She named it the Defiant II. Admiral Patricia Wong continued to serve for another 15 years before retiring. She wrote a book about the battle that became required reading in military schools around the world. In it, she tried to explain why the battle mattered so much. The Vexery thought they understood us, she wrote. They thought we were like every other species they had conquered. They thought that if they showed us enough force, we would give up and accept our fate. They were wrong. Humans do not give up. It is not in our nature. We have fought against impossible odds throughout our entire history. We have faced extinction many times and survived every time. When someone pushes us, we push back harder. When someone tries to destroy us, we destroy them instead. This is not cruelty. This is not aggression. This is simply who we are. We are survivors. We are fighters. And we will never, ever surrender. The book sold millions of copies. Translations appeared in 12 alien languages. Species across the galaxy read it and tried to understand the strange creatures called humans. Some were inspired. They saw in humans a model for how to resist oppression and fight for freedom. They began to push back against the powers that had controlled them for centuries. Others were afraid. They saw in humans a species that could not be reasoned with, could not be intimidated, could not be stopped. They made sure to stay far away from human space and never give humans a reason to fight. And some, like the Vexery, learned a painful lesson. They learned that humans were not prey. They learned that attacking humans was not worth the cost. They learned to respect the species that they had once planned to conquer. Years later, when historians wrote about the moment humanity took its place among the great powers of the galaxy, they always pointed to the same event. Not a great war, not a massive fleet battle, just a single cargo ship and 2 small frigates, surrounded by 12 enemy warships in an asteroid belt far from home. They had been offered a chance to surrender. They had refused. And everything that came after flowed from that single act of defiance. Captain Daniel Hayes died peacefully in his sleep at the age of 89. At his funeral, his granddaughter read a passage from Admiral Wong's book. It was the part where she described what Hayes had said to Commander Zethus at the start of the battle. "We do not surrender. We have never surrendered. We never will." Those words were carved on his tombstone. They were also carved on the memorial at Kepler 442, where the battle had taken place. And they were taught to every human child as they grew up and learned about their place in the universe. Humans do not surrender. Not then. Not now. Not ever. The galaxy learned that lesson the hard way. But they learned it. And they never forgot. The battle lasted 47 more minutes after Admiral Wong arrived. In the history of space warfare, it was not a large engagement. Just 12 ships against 7 in an asteroid field far from any planet. No cities were bombed. No civilians were killed. No terrible weapons were used. But what happened in those 47 minutes would change the galaxy forever. Admiral Wong stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and directed the battle with cold precision. She did not feel hatred for the Vexery. She did not feel anger. She felt nothing except a calm determination to destroy every enemy ship in front of her. "Target the cruiser on our left flank," she ordered. Full missile spread. Follow up with beam weapons. Her crew obeyed without question. The Indomitable turned slightly, bringing its main weapons to bear on the Vexery vessel. Missiles launched from tubes along the ship's hull. Energy beams stabbed through space. The enemy cruiser tried to dodge, but it was too slow. The missiles hit first, overwhelming the ship's shields. Then the energy beams cut through the exposed hull like knives through paper. The cruiser broke apart in a silent explosion, its crew dying before they could even scream. Target destroyed, Lieutenant Palmer reported. Moving to the next one. Wong nodded. Keep going. Do not stop until they are all gone. Around her, the rest of the human fleet was doing the same thing. The heavy cruisers pounded the Vexery warships with long-range fire. The destroyers moved in close, finishing off damaged vessels. Fighter craft from both carriers swarmed through space, hunting down escape pods and shuttlecraft that the Vexery fought back. They were experienced warriors with advanced weapons. They managed to hit the human ships many times. The destroyer Nighthawk took a direct hit to its reactor and exploded, killing everyone aboard. The carrier Vigilant was badly damaged trying to protect the crippled Steadfast, but it was not enough. The humans kept coming. When one ship was damaged, the others covered for it. When one weapon failed, they used another. They accepted losses that should have broken any normal fleet. They pushed through damage that should have forced them to retreat, and they kept killing. Halfway through the battle, Wong received a message from the Vexery. It was not from Commander Zithus, who was already dead. It came from a lower officer, the captain of one of the remaining cruisers. Human Admiral, the alien said. His translated voice was shaking. We request a pause in fighting. We wish to discuss terms. Wong looked at the message for a long moment. Part of her wanted to accept. She was a professional soldier, not a butcher. She did not enjoy killing. But then she thought about the Steadfast. She thought about the Resolute, destroyed in that desperate ramming attack. She thought about the Defiant, drifting without power, its brave captain probably dead. No, she said simply. Admiral, please. We will withdraw. We will leave this area. We will. You had a chance to leave. You had a chance to never attack us in the first place. You chose to ambush a cargo ship full of farmers. You chose to try to make us surrender. You chose wrong. She leaned forward. There will be no pause. There will be no negotiation. There will be only one outcome today. Your complete destruction. That is the price for attacking human beings. She ended the communication. 20 minutes later, the last Vexery warship died. It was a small destroyer, badly damaged and barely able to move. Its captain had tried to run, pushing his broken engines as hard as they would go. But the human destroyers caught up with it easily. The final shots were fired by the cruiser Relentless. 3 missiles hit the Vexery destroyer in quick succession. The ship split apart and went dark. Silence fell over the battlefield. Admiral Wong looked at the viewscreen. Where 12 enemy warships had been, there was now only wreckage. Twisted metal. Frozen bodies. The broken remains of ships that had come to conquer and found only death. All enemies destroyed, Lieutenant Palmer said quietly. The battle is over, Admiral. Wong nodded slowly. She should have felt satisfied. She should have felt proud. They had won a great victory against a powerful enemy. But she did not feel any of those things. She felt tired and sad. What are our losses? She asked. Commander Drake answered. His voice was heavy. The destroyer Nighthawk is gone. All hands lost. The carrier Vigilant is badly damaged and has heavy casualties. Several other ships have taken serious hits. Total casualties? Drake checked his numbers. 217 confirmed dead, Admiral. More than 300 wounded. 217. Wong closed her eyes. 217 men and women who had woken up this morning and would never see tomorrow. 217 families that would receive the worst news possible. All because the Vexery had decided to attack a cargo ship. What about the Steadfast? Wong asked. And the Defiant? The Steadfast is barely holding together, but it still has survivors. Rescue teams are on their way. The Defiant lost power during the battle, but her hull is mostly intact. We are trying to get her emergency systems back online. And their casualties? Drake was quiet for a moment. The Steadfast had a crew of 63. 19 are confirmed alive. The Resolute is completely destroyed. No survivors. The Defiant had 42 crew members. We think about half of them made it. Wong did the math in her head. Of the 140 people who had been on those 3 ships when the Vexery attacked, only about 40 were still alive. The others had died fighting against impossible odds, trying to hold on long enough for help to arrive. Commander Park, Wong said. The captain of the Defiant. Is she alive? We do not know yet, Admiral. The rescue teams are still working. Wong turned away from the view screen. She walked to the observation window and looked out at the debris field. Pieces of Vexery ships floated among pieces of human ships. In death, they all looked the same. Just broken metal and frozen air. I want a full report on everyone who served on those 3 ships, she said. Names, ranks, families, everything. They held the line against 12 warships. They gave us time to get here. Without them, we would have arrived to find nothing but wreckage. She turned back to face her crew. They are heroes. All of them. And the galaxy is going to know what they did here today. 3 hours later, Admiral Wong visited the medical bay of the Indomitable. The survivors of the Steadfast had been brought aboard. They were scattered across dozens of beds, covered in bandages and connected to machines that beeped. And HUMMED. She found Captain Daniel Hayes in a private room. He was awake, but barely. His left leg was going below the knee, lost when a beam collapsed during the battle. His face was gray with pain and exhaustion, but his eyes were clear. Admiral, he said when he saw her. He tried to sit up, but she waved him back down. Stay still, Captain. You have done enough. He managed a weak smile. Did we win? We did. Every Vexery ship is destroyed. None of them escaped. Hayes closed his eyes for a moment. Good. That is good. Wong sat down in the chair beside his bed. I read the reports from your battle. What you did out there was remarkable. Holding off 12 warships with a cargo hauler and 2 frigates. Taking 2 of them with you before we even arrived. I did not do it alone, Hayes said. My crew did it. The Resolute did it. The Defiant did it. I just gave the orders. You gave them the order to fight. You could have surrendered. You could have saved lives. Hayes opened his eyes and looked at her. No, I could not have. Because surrender was not really an option. The Vexery do not take prisoners, Admiral. They take slaves. My crew knew that. They chose to fight because fighting was the only real choice. He was quiet for a moment. How many of my people made it? Wong hesitated. 19 from the Steadfast. About 20 from the Defiant. The Resolute had no survivors. Hayes' face tightened with grief. More than 100 dead. People he had known. People he had worked with. People he had promised to bring home safe. Captain Torres of the Resolute, Hayes said. He rammed his ship into that Vexery cruiser on purpose. He called me on the radio just before he did it. He said to tell his wife he loved her. Wong did not know what to say. She just sat there, sharing the silence with a man who had lost almost everything. Finally, Hayes spoke again. Was it worth it, Admiral? All those lives. Was it worth it? Wong thought about the question carefully before answering. I do not know. she said honestly. But I know this. Because of what you did, the Vexri learned something today. They learned that humans are not prey. They learned that we fight back. And they learned that attacking us has consequences. She stood up. The galaxy is going to hear about what happened here. Every species out there will learn that you cannot attack human beings without paying a price. Maybe that will save lives in the future. Maybe it will prevent the next war before it starts. She looked down at the wounded captain. Your people did not die for nothing, Captain Hayes. They died making a statement. And the whole galaxy heard it.